Good afternoon. We are honored to have Calvin Turner here to spend time with us today at the Web. Mr. Turner's visit is supported by the G. Webb Follin Jr. Endowment, which enables us to bring many universities and experiences together. Mr. Turner grew up in Scottsville, Kentucky, in a household where business and family were one. After graduating from Vanderbilt University, he served 3 years as an officer in the United States Navy before beginning his career at Dollar General, where he served as CEO for 37 years. Turner has served with important companies like Shoney's and First American, and educational, civic, and charitable organizations, including Vanderbilt and Fisk universities, and he has been president of the Board of Governors of the National Area Chamber of Commerce. His many awards include the Presidential Award for Private Sector Initiatives presented by Ronald Reagan, and the Vanderbilt Distinguished Alumnus Award. A committed lifelong Methodist, Mr. Turner was inducted in 2001 into the Fellows of the Society of John Wesley by the Tennessee Conference of UNC. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Calvin Turner Jr. to Webb. By the way, also his niece, Laura Turner, is here somewhere. Roaring Laura. Laura is in that class of 86. We welcome Laura as well. Thank you for being here.
Joy to be here with you. Too loud. I've been taking students in and wonder, what is life like for you? Was I here young? I must have been sometime in my life. I must have been young. But recently, the book has been published, My Father's Business, and the book is my attempt to pay back the wonderful teachers and mentors I have had throughout my life. And I want to share that with anyone who will read the book. Now, let me tell you about the beginning of the company that is now Dollar General. And the company that is now Dollar General operates over 15,000 stores with sales over $25 billion. It's a Fortune 200 company. I've been retired some 15 years from the company, so I can brag about that company now. It's doing so much better without me. What? It's true. It's very true. I'm really, really proud of them. But I'm proud of you. I have to start by telling you how things can happen in strange ways in strange places. The book is the story of 3 generations of family in business. The first generation was my grandfather, Luther Turner, who was 11 years old, had a 3rd grade education. That's all he had at that time. The farm was heavily mortgaged, and one Saturday afternoon, his father was tragically killed, and he was the head of the family. At 11, with a 3rd grade education, a heavy mortgage on the farm, 3 younger siblings. That doesn't sound like a person who would be the founder of a Fortune 500 company. The point is that things work out for those who aspire to do well, to do what they can do. My grandfather, J.L. Turner, believed that everybody he met was smarter than he was, and that he should learn something from everybody he met. And I consider my father to have been the smartest person I have ever known. I hope there's a lesson there. I held it up as a leadership lesson in the company. Anybody who aspires to be a leader should be a lifelong learner. And I hope what happens to you here at Webb is that you get the spark of learning inside you. That the rest of your life you'll be challenged to grow, to learn from other people. The way Luther Turner did. Well, Luther Turner, at the age of 11, had his Renaissance. My dad was an only child, and he had helped Luther Turner in the Depression. Can you imagine what is going on in society when there is a major depression and family businesses everywhere in the retail business are going under? Luther Turner and his son Cal bought bankrupt stocks in the Depression and then sold them. They found opportunity to go against the happenings. And that is how they got started in business. But my father said, son, you can't believe what it's like to experience the wealthy family in a small town, the wealthy retail family in a small town, and through no fault of their own, no fault, they lose it all. They lose it all, their livelihood. He said, Daddy and I were there bidding on these stores that we were going to take out of business. And it was such a pitiful thing to happen. So my dad determined that you need to be conservative in business. You need to control your expense. And my father, who was an only child, loved people. If you get your unique connection with other people, find somebody who fascinates you. Find somebody who doesn't fascinate you and try to learn something about that person. You have opportunity to learn from each other. You can learn more from fellow students. And the teachers, if they're good, are lifelong learners who want you to be that also. Well, okay, so this company is about leadership and what I've learned about leadership. I grew up in a small town, much like your environment here, and I had my father's name, and I struggled in the retail business. I was, my first job was sweeping floors in the warehouse, and let me tell you what my father did. Here was his a 13-year-old son sweeping the warehouse floor, and my father would come to an aisle in the warehouse I had just swept, knowing I was sweeping the aisle next to it, and he would gather around him his associates and he'd say, have you ever seen a floor swept as well as this floor? And they'd say, oh, this is amazing. This floor is really, and I was sweeping next to them. A parent that affirms son or daughter. A teacher that affirms students. Students that affirm each other give a rare gift. So I hope you go for your opportunity to affirm somebody else. And that you're able to laugh with them. Learn from them the way Luther learned from others and the way my father did also. But here I was, growing up in a little town, and I was determined I was not going to go into the family business. What do you want to do with your life? I'm trying to think what I was reasoning when I was your age. Well, I knew I didn't want to go into family business because I was Cal Turner Jr. Sometimes when you receive the name of your father, you want to prove who you are. How much do you have inside you that you want to show your parents something? You want to show the world something? And you want to get out there and prove something out there to everybody. That's what I wanted to do. But when I was 11 years of age, just as when my grandfather was 11, and he was the head of the family, I had my own personal religious experience where I was absolutely amazed that someone would actually die for me, and that someone was Jesus Christ. Now, I'm speaking to you from my experience. I think there is opportunity to experience God no matter what faith or lack of faith you have grown up in. But I happen to have my experience at the age of 11. And then I thought, okay, so what am I supposed to do with my life? Oh no, do I have to be a preacher? Oh, God, that would be a hell of a job. Be a preacher. And then we got a new Methodist preacher. See, I'm a backsliding Methodist. I laugh about being a backslider. And we got a new preacher, and he said, Cal Sr., I understand you're considering the ministry. I said, yes, sir, I am. Well, here's my advice to you, don't do it. Don't do it. No. Do something else. Because only if there's nothing else you can do are you called to be a preacher. And I thought, oh, thank you, Lord. I don't have to be a preacher. I don't want to do that. Uh-oh. What is life's greatest challenge? Me. Life's greatest challenge is close to where I am, and it's close to who I am. It's the family business. I know my father wants me to come in the business, but I'm not good at that business. I can't do what they do in that business well. The only thing I can do well is sweep the floor in the warehouse. My first job, the only one I ever did well. But when I was clerking in Stoker, I was then 13 or 14. And I got, because I was the worst clerk, every job I did in the company, Well, I got the worst customer. I got a smelly, dirty, ugly, crotchety old farmer. And he wanted to buy a pair of 39-cent panties for the old lady. I'm working on the issue. Great. I'm going to have to work hard to sell this fellow. And then I've only made a 39-cent sale. My Aunt Ethel was the best clerk in the whole store. And we had a store full of customers, and Ethel had all this merchandise she was ready to ring up. And I said, okay, what size does she wear? He said, I don't know. I said, well, how big? He said, well, she's about her size. We pointed to Ethel. Simple solution to the problem. Ethel, what size panties do you wear? Well, Ethel flew all of the merchandise went all over the store, and I picked up hers. The biggest sale I ever made was when I rang up Ethel's. All of her merchandise, but she was in the stock room embarrassed. Then I came back to him. Now, let me tell you what God did to me through another person. God said to me, take that man in. Do you understand how his life is different from your life? Spending 39 cents is a sacrifice, and he's doing it for the woman he loves. You can kind of see that he loves her, and he's buying these pants for her. Al Jr., do you realize that there are people who have a much bigger struggle in life than you do? Well, I became fascinated with the customers that came into our stores. They were hard-working people. They were smart as a whip. They knew life, and then I realized when I was liberated from being a preacher, didn't have to do that, didn't have to be that. I realized that ministry can happen in business. I hope wherever you go, whatever you do in your life, you will serve other people. That is your version of my Father's business. And I hope this book helps you to learn how to do that. In the book, I share the successes and the failures. I tell you about the mistakes I made and the people who helped me to get out of those mistakes, helped me to learn from those mistakes. I tell you about how this family business wound up at a crossroads, and I had to make a decision that tore my heart out. I can predict that in your future, you're going to go through hard times. But I can further predict that when you're 78 and you look back on life, you may be thankful for the hard times because you learned something, you grew, you developed a relationship with somebody else that wouldn't have happened except you were going through hell, and something good came of that. So today I worry about our society when I hear the guilt and blame that goes on in society. society today, I'm very troubled. There is a leadership agenda that I hope you'll join me in, no matter what you do the rest of your life. I want to illustrate it by giving credit to my mother, because I have concluded that women understand how to connect with others as leaders probably more naturally than men do. When I was a teenager, about your age, getting into trouble, if you're, oh, you haven't, but I did, my mother would say, son, for a good boy, you get into a lot of trouble. Isn't that a wonderful mother who says, for a good boy, you get into a lot of trouble? You're a good person. We're in some real trouble here we have to talk about. The lesson is, separate the problem from the person. If you want to be a good problem solver, you don't start off by saying, who did that? And in the development of Dollar General, my father, who was the old school, was inclined, when something went wrong, to say, who did that? And I said, I'm not going to tell you that. He said, do you know who did it? Yes, I do. Who did it? I'm not going to tell you. We're not going to ask that question at Dollar General anymore. Instead, we're going to say, what happened? Not what happened, and who needs to come together to fix it. Because, dang, when a mistake is made in business, there's never any one person. There's several people. There's a syndrome. There's a problem. The world needs problem solvers, not blame agents. Don't blame somebody. Don't say, well, he's just a so-and-so, so that's where he's going to come from. Or she is just. We're all children of God. And we need each other. And mentoring, having a good mentor is not the issue. The issue is whether I'm willing to be mentored, whether you're willing to be mentored. My hope for you for the rest of your life is that you willingly learn from life and to love people. I believe that our Creator sends teachers to us in strange human packages if we can learn. I want the best for you. I think your choice of web school is a wonderful choice, and you have great opportunity here. And I want you to learn from each other and grow together. And I hope some of you will consider reading the book when I take you through all of the steps that were involved in the building of a company that was a great success in spite of failures. That's where you learn. Helping success is not outside. My time is more than up. I wish I could have one-on-one time with every one of you here. It would be a joy to me. Probably have. But thank you. my dad observed that in the cities, because he was a country boy, and he said, if you're a country boy in retail, you better pay attention to what the city boys do. And they ran dollar day sales, and he said, that's such a great idea. And they obviously are making money at that, so let's start stores. And we'll call them dollar stores. $1 will sell nothing over $1. That's the way the first store started. It's different than that. And he said, and I'm going to put the name General in there because I want to be able to sell anything that I get a good buy on. And a general store in the country is where you buy everything you sold. So it's going to be Dollar General. And that's what it became. Dollar General stores. Anything you want, you're supposed to be able to find there. And the price is supposed to be right. And the reason the price is supposed to be right, I remember that farmer and 39-cent pair. If you could have just been there and caught his fragrance, you know what I mean. But he was wonderful. So, Dollar General store, town's most unusual store. Now, they're over 15,000. Thank you for the question. Where? Just speak up.
Stand up, stand up.
Oh, yes.
Did you ever find out the size of the pansies?
I've never been asked that question. What size panties? In other words, you're saying, what size panties did she wear? The answer is, no, I didn't. But he left with a pair of panties. Then he paid for it.
What size were those?
That's a good question. Oh. I enjoyed your question. Thank you.
Over there. All right.
Yes.
So, what would you say if you had to go for one business rule, possibly other than don't blame people? What would be your favorite go-to idea for management?
Well, the reason I emphasize don't blame others is that you shouldn't go into business unless you realize you need other people. There are others who can do what you can't do. The important thing of business is, to me, is the people side of business. And you spend the majority of your waking hours at work. And so if you start a business, don't take yourself too seriously. If you think you're brilliant, you're mistaken. There's somebody brillianter out there. I'm sure that's not a good word. But connecting with others. I believe the world needs leaders today. And you know the primary dynamic of leadership? Good listeners. You listen to others. You can be a mere manager and you can boss somebody into achieving an objective. But you need to listen to other people. And the key to listening is that you feel some love here for your fellow human being. So love is the best listener. Now, once someone in our company who had been there 13 years, said, I want to tell you all why I've been with Dollar General 13 years. 12 years ago, the CEO of the company came through the warehouse and I was unloading a trailer on the loading dock. And he stuck his head in the door and he said, how are you? But he's waiting for my answer. And that's why I'm still here. Now that's something little. When you say to somebody, how are you? Do you just go on and the other person knows you didn't even care? It's just a greeting. Take the little things of life and bring something special to them. Get a people connection in everything you do, whether it's business or whether it's office work or whether it's the corporate world, whether it's the not-for-profit. You're here to serve other people. And when Dollar General adopted the two-word mission statement, serving others, it started going. Life isn't about me. Life isn't about you. It's about what you and I can do to help somebody else. And we can do that in any enterprise you choose to follow. So get excited about the people serving opportunity of business or a profession or whatever it is that is your choice of occupation in life.
Time for one more question. Here you go. Go ahead.
Did you come up with every day is Dollar Day at the Dollar General store, or was that after your time? It's in my head.
That was my dad's slogan every day, and I did help write the first jingle, which wasn't very good. We never used that. Every day is Dollar Day at the Dollar General store. Yeah.